Welcome to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails, inviting you to join the fight to end human trafficking.
Oh, give me eyes to see. Oh, give me strength to lead. You give me all I need. So give me courage to believe.
Each week, Abolition Radio sheds light on the darkness of modern slavery, celebrates the work of abolitionists who are fighting for freedom, and equips the church to engage in the work of justice with hope rooted in God's Word. Our goal is to see a radio audience become an army of gospel activists.
You're in the neighborhoods we live in. You're in the ones we're passing by. You're in the ones we call our neighbors. And the ones who still escape our eyes.
Now, here's the host of Abolition Radio, founder and executive director of Love Never Fails, Vanessa Scott.
Thanks, Dave, and welcome to another edition of Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. We're here in the studio, of course, with my lovely co-host, Miss Benita Hopkins.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Benita. And, of course, we have a great list of a great group of folks that are here in studio with us that will be talking about mentoring today.
Yes.
We're really excited about really sharing our hearts, first of all, for reaching out and being someone that's safe and constant in the lives of those that are maybe at risk of being exploited or already have been exploited. And so in studio with us, we have Liz Longfellow, who is the program director of Lasting Links Mentoring Program with Missy, right?
Correct. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you
Hi, Liz.
for having me.
Thanks for being here. And, of course, we have Danielle, who's also here, Danielle Renee, who is an artist, and she's going to tell you a little bit about her musical talent. She's actually just performed this week on Wednesday at Faith Fellowship Church, but she's also doing some mentoring, and she's here with us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Hi, thanks for being here, Danielle. And then, of course, our very lovely program manager for Mentors for Positive Change, which is a Love Never Fails program, Misty Felton.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so we're just going to open up a little bit and kind of talk to each of our guests about how they got involved in this fight against human trafficking, and maybe a little bit of drill down in the future segments on each of their programs, and how you out there can get involved. There's never enough mentors, in particular for our young men. I know that we've had some serious challenges in recruiting young men that can be a constant part of the lives of our young men, but just our young ladies as well. Although Liz was just telling me that she's got some mentors that are waiting to be matched up with mentees. So that's a great thing to have. So anyway, so let's go ahead and dive into that. So maybe Liz, if you wouldn't mind starting us off and kind of telling us a little bit about the Lasting Links program and how you got involved with this fight against human trafficking.
Sure. So the Lasting Links Mentor Program started probably about 3 years ago at Missy. And Missy, for those who don't know, stands for Motivating, Inspiring, Supporting, and Serving Sexually Exploited Youth. So the agency has been around since about 2007. And about 3 years ago, we started a mentoring program that's actually a collaboration with Girls, Inc. and the Mentoring Center and us. So between the three agencies, we support and train mentors.
Awesome. Right. And how did you personally get involved in this fight against human trafficking?
I worked with youth for about 9 years previously in San Francisco, homeless and runaway youth. And in working at that, I worked at Larkin Street Youth Services, and in working there was seeing more and more trafficked youth there. And then when I moved to Oakland, I live actually in East Oakland, about a block from International Boulevard, and saw it firsthand.
Seeing it,
and started to call around, like, who's doing this work over here?
Right.
And that's how I was introduced to Missy.
That's awesome. So you're their executive director is Falila Aisha Bilal, right?
Indeed, she is.
She's awesome.
She started about the same time I did.
Yeah, and then of course your lineage is awesome as well. Sarai and Nola and Adela, who's over at West Coast Children's Clinic. So a lot of really great DNA there, and so tell me a little bit about Missy. I think started their mentoring program about 8 months before we started ours. And I remember sitting down with the person we sat down with, I think was your program director at the time, or program manager at the time. And she was really helpful to us in developing our program and kind of telling us the do's and the don'ts and some of the things that were going well and not so well. And, and I don't recall exactly the details, but there was a lot that went into you guys deciding to start a mentoring program. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about that. What were you hoping to accomplish in launching Lasting Links?
Well, I mean, the goal of the mentoring program is to really help restore healthy relationships to youth who've had such traumatic experiences that their relationships with adults have become broken or they're mistrustful of them. So, that's the primary goal, and it helps kind of like foster optimism about the future and sort of trust in adult relationships. I don't exactly know the history that you're speaking to in terms of like how, why it started at Missy, except for that reason, as more of sort of a wrap around to help support youth in various ways.
Yeah, I think, Misty can probably attest to this. We found that there were lots of mentoring programs, or not lots of, but there were some mentoring programs out there, but we felt that there needed to be a more specialized program developed for people that were high risk for human trafficking and people who had been trafficked, because there's
it's
just
such a specific
trauma, trauma impacted population. So so just thinking a little bit more about what you're doing today. So if somebody wanted to become a mentor, how might they do that?
So it's a little bit of a process, requires a little bit of planning, I think, for someone who wants to become a mentor. The first step is to attend an information session, and Missy holds those on the first Thursday of every month from 6 to 7 p.m. So the next one, I think, is April 2nd. And it's an hour-long session that sort of talks about various ways to become involved, including mentoring. And if somebody wants to pursue the mentorship path, then there's an application, an interview, a pretty intensive training process, and a background check. And then the matching can go from there.
And the training process, is that a couple of days, or how many hours is that?
It's
typically?
about 20 hours. We usually do an intensive weekend, so it's a Friday evening, a Saturday, and a Sunday. And this is one of the ways that one of our partner agencies gets involved. They do one of the days of the training, the Mentoring Center, and it's very specialized around just like specific things about mentoring.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really helpful. Yeah.
Yes.
We've found it's very challenging, and I know Misty will tell us more about that, but the amount of time that somebody has to commit to get started can be challenging. So I'll let Misty kind of embellish there as we drill down on Mentors for Positive Change. I'm sure she's got some stuff. Like last session, I think Benita was complaining about some stuff too, right?
I did not complain.
She didn't complain. She did. I'm just making stuff up. So Liz,
I would never do that.
No, she was complaining about her things, not about Misty.
Not complaining.
No. She was just like,
Speaking
I wear
to.
many hats.
Someone else said that for me.
That's true. They were helping you out. Okay, so Liz, so you have 11 mentors now.
We do.
Okay, and they're actively mentoring. And what does that entail? Is that like once or twice a week, or how frequently?
We ask mentors to commit about 2 hours a week, or to have that available. Really, the contact should be even more regular than weekly. Phone, text, email, but the reality is that the mentor and the mentee, the youth, make the time to spend together, and so sometimes. It's more than 2 hours, or it's more than once a week, and sometimes it's less. Like there is some fluidity to how it can actually look based on lives and schedules. But obviously we want the mentors to be very consistently maintaining contact with the youth to build the rapport and the trust.
Okay. And do you find that they become kind of like a family? Is that kind of what
Absolutely.
happens?
Yeah. We have mentors who know youth's family, spend time with their children, grandparents, so have gotten dogs together.
Dogs together?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great idea. That is awesome. Well, okay, good. So I'd love to hear some more from you about, at least what we've seen is that we try to do the best we can in doing matches, but sometimes it's not always a fit. And so, what's the commitment that mentors apply, I guess, to that relationship, and then what do you do? In certain situations, maybe somebody returns to the life. Do they continue to be mentored, or a little bit more of those dynamics? Because I know people that are out there listening are thinking, I'd like to mentor, and do I need to have arrived? And what if it doesn't work out? And all those different what ifs. So we'll come right back in just a second with a little bit more of Abolition Radio.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages.
Trash bills weighing you down? At Case Industries, we specialize in lowering waste costs and providing trash consolidation and compaction services for multifamily properties, condos, and commercial shopping centers. Let us help you reduce operating expenses and increase property NOI. Case Industries, saving the planet, saving you money. Contact us today for a property trash and recycling assessment online at caseindustries.us or call 510-566-4223. That's caseindustries.us or call 510-566-4223. Case Industries, the property manager's friend.
Hi, I'm Sandra Herrera, CEO of Case Industries. I've found that many employers are looking for ways to help the community but don't know how. I encourage you to consider supporting Abolition Radio as a corporate sponsor. Love Never Fails offers all the resources necessary to help young women and men overcome the trauma of exploitation and abuse. And that's why I'm proud to have Case Industries supporting Abolition Radio.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
And welcome back to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. So we were just talking about just sort of the reality of mentoring, right? We're people. We're not machines, right? So we've got to take some time we do our best to try and figure out how to match. But in some instances, there's not a connection between a mentor and a mentee. What do you do in that situation, Liz?
We generally ask for, it is true there's a chemistry to these things, but we generally ask for the mentor, the adult in the relationship, to approach it with unconditional openness, irregardless. So it's up to a youth to say, this doesn't feel right to me, or I don't want to continue, or whatever. And then that's a decision that we honor. In general, what we ask of the mentor is to be open and to work with whatever the youth is presenting.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I think that we have a similar philosophy. So, Misty, if you could jump in here. So, Misty, as I mentioned earlier, is the program manager of our Mentors for Positive Change program. And Misty's been with us from the very beginning. I still remember that first meeting. She just took charge, and I said, well, there you have it. She's the leader.
I did not take charge. You decided that I would be in charge.
She demonstrated leadership qualities, and no good deed goes unpunished. No. She's been a leader in our organization since the very beginning, and really helped to pull up the organization in the mentoring arena, and just in a variety of different areas, pull the systems together that are the underpinnings of our organization. So I'm so grateful. Actually, she and I were the Jefferson Award winners together. So woo, 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 woo. So Misty, tell us about Mentors for Positive Change, kind of the DNA of that program, how it came to be, and what you're doing, at this time.
The first mentor class happened in the summer of 2012. I think we had about 13 or 14 people in the first class. Benita was one of the people in the class, and that's how we got to know her. We have about 18 hours of training currently. We have shortened it slightly. Missy actually provided we did 6 hours of what is sex trafficking, and so they actually provided that for us in the first training, and we were definitely really grateful for that, and it was really helpful information for our mentors to have. We talk about compassionate caregiving. We talk about process-oriented mentoring, boundaries, communication skills. We do all of that in the class. We also we do kind of an interview for everyone who wants to mentor. We do background checks as well for our mentors, and we as well ask our mentees to commit to a long-term relationship with our mentees and really to be proactive about pursuing the relationship, and just to understand that they're the adult in the relationship, whether their mentee is 16 or 21, like they're still the mature person in the relationship. And if the mentee, doesn't want to continue the relationship, the mentee has the right to make that decision, but the adult really should stick with the mentee as long as they are willing to participate in the relationship. And it can be hard in the beginning, while we warn every mentor that it takes time to build trust and for there to be a consistent relationship. And we stress that throughout the training. People are often surprised at how long it takes to really establish that relationship.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, especially with our population, where trust is a huge factor, and so many people have let our young people down, and especially their family members, and so they're just distrusting, and so it takes at least 6 months to build the rapport, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there have been a few people who they have that immediate connection, but, 3 to 6 months for there to be consistent relationship. And, the other thing that we have for our mentors is we have monthly meetings where the mentors can come together and brainstorm together, and we can provide support, and we do some continuing education so that the mentors... sometimes it can be challenging. Our mentees have, really stressful lives, and we want our mentors to feel supported in their relationship with their mentee and to have an outlet for some of the really hard things that they have to hear and know about with their mentees.
Yeah. One of the things that happens, and I certainly have had to work through some of this myself personally with mentoring. If you have, background of abuse or any kind of background that makes you susceptible to countertransference or, triggering when you're dealing with somebody who's going through a traumatic episode, a lot of those codependent behaviors or maybe strange reactions to some of the things you're hearing and you're seeing when you're mentoring come up. And I appreciate, first of all, Misty saying, the continuing education is not only a place where they're learning new techniques for dealing with mentors, but also for receiving support and prayer, because they are, sometimes and oftentimes the reason we're drawn to this issue is because we have a history, and yet that very history is what comes up when we do the work that we so that we feel that we're called to. Misty, what are your thoughts? And Danielle, you can come in. I can see that you have something to say here, but Misty, I'd love to hear from you. If somebody's listening and they're thinking, I'd like to, mentor, but I do have a background of, I tend to have struggle with codependency, or or I think I'd give away my entire house if I was mentoring somebody. I'd just give them the clothes on my back. How do you help people set boundaries and stay safe?
Well, one thing that we've added to the class, we didn't do this in the first class in the interviews, is we ask mentees or mentors to tell us, do you have anything that will help you relate to the mentees? And they'll often disclose a background of trauma or abuse. And then the question that we've added is, what have you done to address that in your own life? And that has been really revealing. The other thing that we also do is just, we have the mentor class now is over a period of 10 weeks, and that gives us a chance to observe and to, the training is interactive. I don't just talk at them for 10 hours. We don't have people talk at them. We have groups, we have discussions as part of it. And that really helps bring out issues. I've seen it come out, and there are certain mentors who I see have codependency issues, and those are the people that we would be very careful about who we would match them with. We probably wouldn't match them with someone with a super high need, and just keep in constant contact with that person. The checking in every month is really important, because I've had mentors who, when I check in with them, they tell me something that's going on and they needed support. And although I am available for calling in between meetings, they don't always call until I see them or talk with them. And then they're like, well, actually, there is something going on. And so that also helps provide a level of accountability. And, just kind of listening to their story. There's one particular mentor where she was talking, and I said, I think maybe you need some counseling to kind of help deal with your codependency issues. And she was willing to go and get counseling for that. So really just kind of paying attention to the personalities within the training, and offering them support for that. So so that they can be a better mentor.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we've, it's interesting because we're very, I'll talk for myself here. I'm very protective with the survivors. And I don't want them re-injured or, re-victimized. At the same time, we don't want to make our environment so rigid that, there's no forgiveness or no support or correction in love, if you will, for the mentors that are also sometimes a work in progress. And so it's been an interesting balance because there have been things that are, I don't like that. Maybe one of our survivors feels hurt by something that's happened, but at the same time, it's a great learning opportunity. So we've had to work through that. And I think we've got a lot of success stories, and I'm really excited about some of the changes that we've incorporated as we've learned, right? So I want to get Danielle into this conversation. So we're going to come back from break and just hear from Danielle about what she's doing. And thank you for listening to Abolition Radio.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages from our sponsors.
Hi, this is Vanessa Scott with Abolition Radio, where every week we invite you to join the fight to bring an end to human trafficking. Abolition Radio is the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails, our nonprofit, which is dedicated to the rehabilitation, education, and protection of youth involved or at risk of becoming involved in domestic sex trafficking. Our goal with Abolition Radio is to eradicate human trafficking in all forms, sex trafficking and labor trafficking locally and globally. We are excited to bring this program to KFAX as we will share stories of hope and opportunities to mobilize the body of Christ and turn this audience into an army of gospel activists who will speak up for justice and act on behalf of those who are trapped or recovering from slavery. Find us on Facebook at Abolition Radio or on the web at abolitionradio.org, and join me each Saturday at 3 p.m. for an exciting episode of Abolition Radio right here on AM 1100 KFAX.
I know exactly who I am.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
And welcome back to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. Well, we've got Miss Danielle Renee. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
So Danielle was actually sick earlier this week, so she's kind of wrestling with a little bit of her throat, a little tickle in her throat, but she's here. She sounds great. She's wearing a shirt that says "Crazy Worshiper," and so I'm really tempted to have her sing, but I don't want you to strain your vocal cords, so maybe we'll wait.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll wait, but we do have her music in hand, and so I'd love to figure out a way that we can post some of that on our abolitionradio.org site, just so you can take a peek. But anyway, so you were telling me, or just before the break, I could tell you wanted to tell me something about this topic of being healthy and being well ourselves. And maybe you could also tell us a little bit about your program or what you're doing.
Right. Well, I just really appreciated what you were saying about wanting to protect the mentees, but at the same time not having an environment that's so rigid where the mentors are feeling, if they do have a background of abuse, that that they can't be useful as well.
Right.
And just for me, I do have a background of abuse, and it's one of the things that makes me so passionate about the cause. But I know for myself and several of the people that are in my circle that have this same background, it's a concern of how do you set those boundaries, and if you finding that you are having some countertransference or some triggering, what are the outlets so that you don't have to stop, but you can go get the tools and come back and still be useful.
Right.
And so I just appreciated that was something that was coming up, because a lot of times people think that just because they've struggled with something in their past that they can no longer be an asset, and it's so far from the truth. You can use what you've gone through to be a catalyst to create some change. So
absolutely, and that is so counter to what God tells us about ourselves, right? About restoration,
right?
I mean, it's the age-old story, right? So if that's the case, nobody can be used, right? Because we all fall short,
exactly,
right? So, but we do need to have correction and love, and we need to make sure that we're accountable,
right?
And so we try to kind of blend that in. So tell me about what you're doing. I hear you're supporting a group. Is it just girls, or do you have young people that are kind of surrounding you and mentoring with you?
Well, Danielle Renee Ministries is a praise and worship based ministry. We're based out of Dallas, Texas, and so we're in the process of putting together a program for young women. I wouldn't say that it's going to be a full-time mentoring program, because it's just not something that we can commit to at this point in time, but we're working to see how we can be an asset there in Dallas.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And so by way of music,
Mm-hmm.
it's really a music mentoring or a way to outreach to the youth through music. Is that kind of the way you see it?
I think that music is something that we've always used to draw people in.
Yeah.
And then we were doing some work with the curriculum, Celebrate Recovery curriculum, and small groups, and I am in school of psychology, and so we're partnering with different programs to really have that one-on-one experience.
Yeah.
And I think the music is just a draw to bring people in and have a common interest.
Yeah. So the whole way that Love Never Fails started is through dance.
Oh, wow.
And so we have that absolutely in our DNA, that, we have this artistic expression that draws people in. And then, of course, it's kind of a setup. I feel like God has kind of set me up with that, because it's like every time I'm doing dance, I find that there are people in my midst that are there because they've been exploited or abused, and they're using dance as a form of art therapy, the worship, the time of worship for restoration. So, but so in Celebrate Recovery, this is interesting. There is absolutely that element of accountability partners and sponsors, which are absolutely very similar to mentoring. I want to give my sponsor, Debbie Rico, who hi Debbie, she would go like this. Right now. So she is over at Faith Fellowship Celebrate Recovery, and she's a co-leader with her husband, Pastor Raul Rico, and they have set up this infrastructure of sponsors and accountability partners that call on people every week, just like we just talked about, that stay in touch, that are a resource, someone to call when you feel like you're going to use or do whatever your hurt habit or hang-up is. Is it kind of the similar?
Kind of. It's similar to that, yeah. Cool. I got involved in the cause with my brother, Seven, who you're familiar with.
Yeah.
We did a 30-day, 40-city tour last summer to generate awareness about human trafficking. And at that point is when I really realized this is an issue that's very close to home. I had never seen that, and I think I was naive and kind of lumped it into just the whole molestation genre, and I didn't see it as an individual thing. And so coming off of that tour, we've really realized we need some specific training, and like the Bible says, we're to be known by our love for others, but we have to know how to love, according to people's specific needs. So we're wanting to just work and build some build some accountability and just some sounding boards for people to express how they're feeling and get some good help.
Yeah, good. So now with your music, so you just sang at Faith Fellowship this past Wednesday,
right. Mm-hmm.
and was that part of the ending of a tour, or was it?
Yes.
Okay, so that was a final location in a tour you were doing. Okay.
5 weeks, Crazy Worshiper Tour.
Oh, so that's the shirt.
Yes.
Crazy Worshiper Tour. Very nice.
Right.
So if people want to follow up and kind of get more involved in this movement, well, how can they do that, Danielle?
The best way is to just find us on our website, which is DanielleReneeMinistries.com.
Okay.
And we're really active on social media.
Okay.
And the whole Crazy Worshiper movement, it's simply a play on the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over, expecting a different result. But we really believe that should be our posture as worshipers, to continue to do the same thing, expecting God to move and keep worshiping regardless of how he moves, because he's a good God. Mm-hmm. And so we're very passionate about not building a platform of just superstardom and ministry, but really being active and effective in our communities. And so this is a cause that really people can get involved in. You don't have to wait to be an expert to get involved in. You just have to stand up and make some noise wherever you are.
And just praise wherever you are.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that. So now, is Seventh still part of the 116 clique or crew, or is that a no?
I can't keep up.
Okay, that's the last I heard. But and I was just telling Danielle, I'm trying to act like I'm cool here, but I have done some dancing to your brother's music. I just want you to know that.
Well, I would let him know.
Okay. So anyway, I'm coming back to mentoring. So I want to dig into a couple more areas here in our next segment. And so we'll be right back with another segment of Abolition Radio.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages.
This is Pastor Gary from Faith Fellowship in San Leandro. We are so excited about the launch of Abolition Radio every Saturday. And we have seen Love Never Fails under Vanessa Scott grow right here in San Leandro out of our church at Faith Fellowship. And now her ministry. God gave her a passion to get young people out of the sex trafficking and sex slave industry. And she has been doing a phenomenal job. Not only is it locally, but now it's going globally. In fact, I prophesied to her that God was going to use her to go nationwide, and that's exactly what's been happening. She is a woman with a vision, with a direction, and a passion to see these young people come out of this kind of arena. And to God be the glory. Join with her every Saturday on Abolition Radio to hear what she has to say and then become a part of what she's doing. AbolitionRadio.org. Love never fails.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
And we're back with another edition of Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. Okay, so I want to dig into a little bit. So one of the things that we've seen with Mentors for Positive Change, we have 39 mentors now. And how many people do you have enrolled in the class?
In the current class, 18.
18 folks, okay. And, one thing to note about our mentor base that I've noticed is that it's kind of being used as a way to train our leaders. As Benita mentioned, she was in the first class, as was I. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of any other of our leaders were in the first class. I don't think so.
Not current leaders, I don't think.
Yeah, but it's been a place where our leaders have actually come in, become familiar with human trafficking, and then decided to take on a leadership role. So it's multifaceted, and it's a great, sort of foundational piece for us.
It was a setup for me.
It definitely was. Well, yeah. I mean, that's a given. But with this class, I think half of the mentors, give or take a few, are actually mentoring or going through the training so that they can work in the I Am House of Restoration, and the other half are actually going to be mentoring. But that's fabulous, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I know you do sort of a reality check for the folks that are coming in, we do an exposure where we ask them to go out on a street outreach with us so that they know exactly what kind of, what exploitation looks like. They can experience it firsthand. And then we also talk about the fact that you may begin mentoring somebody who's exited the life and then may re-enter into the life while you're mentoring them. And number one, it's not an indicator of success or failure. It's actually it's part of the way that this thing works. And just to remind everybody, I've mentioned it, in other sessions, but the average number of times that a person returns to the life is 21, according to several experts out there. And so 21 is an average number of times. For a domestic violence victim, the average number of times a domestic violence victim returns is 7. And so, we can't expect that just because someone received a mentor that all of a sudden, it would cure world hunger, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to open it up to you guys to kind of comment on that and how, what do you tell mentees or mentors rather in preparation for that reality? And how can they continue to support the person when they're maybe re-engaging or have re-engaged back into being exploited? Liz, do you want to jump in on that?
Absolutely, yeah. I think the statistic of, someone returning to the life, like relapsing 21 times, is fascinating. I hadn't heard that specifically. But basically, we do prepare mentors just very directly with the reality of youth can be in very different stages of change, and that model of sort of recovery, we might be working with a youth who doesn't necessarily even see themselves as a victim or as being exploited.
Right.
And we work with youth no matter where they are in that continuum. And the idea is to give the mentors, the tools to unconditional positive regard, meet the youth where they're at, but also and support them and have change talk, real change talk, like what are the barriers? What's working for you and what's not working for you? And acknowledge what is working for them and what isn't, and ask the kind of questions that can elicit some thinking about change and what it would take to sort of move to the next step.
Yeah, you just made me think. Amba Johnson from Dreamcatchers and I we were having a discussion, and their program is very much focused. They provide housing for 13 to 19-year-olds in Oakland. Mm-hmm. Great program. Mm-hmm. They give them a backpack of clean clothes, and they give them a good meal, and they're free to go. And this is for minors. They're free to go if they need to, but they want to do some harm reduction. And one of the things that they talk to them about, and I love this, is this working for you? Mm-hmm. It's not really about us casting a judgment on somebody and saying, oh, this isn't good for you, this is bad, so on. It's really about what are are you accomplishing your goals? Mm-hmm. And having them define it for themselves, right?
Yeah. And it's very difficult. Like, we're sitting over here knowing, I know what would be best for you. I know.
Right.
But we don't know what it is to be in somebody else's shoes.
Yep.
And so it really is about eliciting that information from them and figuring out those very pieces of like what isn't working and what is in the way of doing something differently. Because the reality is we all have things we might want to change, and yet it's not just as easy as knowing you want to change something. Right. There's things that stand in the way of us making those changes. So it's about identifying those things and working with those things within ourselves. Like having, it's person directed.
Right.
The change has to come from within for it to be successful.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about, recently I've gone on a health binge over the last 6 months.
You.
And I've tried, And, I've lost a little over 10 pounds, and I think Benita and I are doing it together. She's lost some good amount over here. She's doing great. And not just losing weight, but just getting healthy. But think about, the struggle, because I think most people can relate to wanting to become healthier. And, it would feel horrible for someone to say to me, you're fat, get with it. This is how you do it. You get in the gym, you do this, you do that. Versus me defining for myself, I'm not happy with my weight. I could be a size 1 and say, I'm not happy with my eating, I'm eating too much, I don't know, butter or something that's giving me high cholesterol. And that's a decision I've made for me, and I'm going to pursue changes at the pace that makes sense for me. So I kind of relate it to that. As I know it sounds like such a far departure from being sexually exploited, but actually it's really not, because it's about change and behavior.
I love what Liz said about the change within. It's just like a substance abuse person, a person who uses a substance of some sort, until they really want that deliverance. We could say till we're blue in the face, you shouldn't do that, or that's bad for you,
right?
Whatever. But it's until they decided to do that for themselves.
For themselves, yeah.
Yeah, and so one thing that we talk about in the class is, we're there to empower them and to help them identify what their needs are, what their challenges are, and not give them an answer, but help them
find solutions.
Yeah, find solutions for themselves. We also make sure that the mentors know that they are not to be everything to their mentees. They can't be.
Limited role.
Yeah, you can't be everything. But if you can help them understand what they are getting out of being exploited, there could be like emotional needs that are being met by their exploiter. Especially when they're triggered, that a trigger is often the thing that sends someone back. Helping them combat those triggers, like identifying what their triggers are and helping them to come up with strategies to combat them before they hit the trigger are things that you can do to prevent that from happening. But really kind of understanding what needs are being met and helping them understand that there may be other ways that they could get those needs met. Sometimes it's they need money, like they need a place to live. Which is why we open the I Am House. If they don't have a place to live and that's the only way that they can make money, a safe place, then they may go back just to get their basic needs met.
Right.
Yeah. So, Benita, I know you are mentoring Regina and Regina Evans, who we've had on the show in the past. And tell me a little bit, as we're going to close the session in just a second, but just tell me a little bit about what that has meant for you as a mentor.
Wow. Being there to listen as, Regina, she's that vivacious, bouncing off the wall person that we all know and love, but we all have those times when we just need someone to talk with. When times are down, or to ask questions with, to bounce things off of, just being there for her. She is such an encourager herself, and that relationship that we have, 9 times out of 10, I'm the one getting the encouragement.
Right.
But it's been a joy.
Yeah.
It's been a joy.
Yeah, and I can say the same for the people that I've mentored and so on. I know Misty's mentoring someone as well. It's just, it's a real blessing.
And I have had the mentor as well.
Yeah.
That, it's hard to keep up with that person,
right.
or to get a hold of that person.
Yep.
But you have to keep trying.
Just keep pursuing.
You keep pursuing them.
Yeah. All right, we'll be right back in just a moment.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages from our sponsors.
Trash bills weighing you down? At Case Industries, we specialize in lowering waste costs and providing trash consolidation and compaction services for multifamily properties, condos, and commercial shopping centers. Let us help you reduce operating expenses and increase property NOI. Case Industries, saving the planet, saving you money. Contact us today for a property trash and recycling assessment online at caseindustries.us or call 510-566-4223. That's caseindustries.us or call 510-566-4223. Case Industries, the property manager's friend.
Hi, I'm Sandra Herrera, CEO of Case Industries. I've found that many employers are looking for ways to help the community but don't know how. I encourage you to consider supporting Abolition Radio as a corporate sponsor. Love Never Fails offers all the resources necessary to help young women and men overcome the trauma of exploitation and abuse. And that's why I'm proud to have Case Industries supporting Abolition Radio.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. So we're going to go ahead and swing into telling you a little bit about what's going on in the community. So just coming up here next Thursday, we actually have already started our Mentors for Positive Change Cohort 4, is it? Classes. Right. So we started a couple of weeks ago, but we are going to be allowing folks to join just this Thursday. It will be the cutoff this Thursday coming up. So if you are interested in becoming a mentor for positive change, we ask you to reach out to us. Go to our website, which is loveneverfailsus.com, and there you'll be able to go into our programs link and get more information about reaching out to Misty to go ahead and get enrolled in that class. Again, it's Thursday evenings in Hayward from 7 to 9 p.m., and those will run until May 14th. So please do join us on this mentoring journey. And then we have coming up on April the 20th through the 25th, we have the Sexually Exploited Minors SEM Activities Week.
Yes.
And that's going on 20th through the 25th, and we're going to end it with a walkathon on the 25th in Hayward. We haven't identified the location yet, but we will be publishing that on our website again, loveneverfailsus.com. And then thereafter, Missy is throwing a gala, and that is on May 2nd. Tell us some more about that, Liz.
It is our annual fundraising gala. This year we'll be honoring several folks with awards, including the founder and former executive director, Nola Brantley, as well as, yes, indeed, as well as one of our fantastic mentors, actually.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay. So support Missy. Missy really relies on, they're there in Oakland, and they rely on your donations, your volunteer hours, and anything that you can do to support what they're doing. I know they rely very heavily on this gala to keep the lights on. So we want to be of support to them. They're one of our, just an awesome partner for us. And also, I forgot to mention that we have open mic on April the 24th, and we're doing
part of Sim Week,
and we're doing that part of Sim Week with Sarai, right?
Yes.
Okay. Please.
This is the Alameda County Youth.
Okay.
Sim Week.
Gotcha.
Sponsored, put on, supported by Alameda County Youth, and it starts on the 20th with a film showing, I think, that they have created. And so great things are happening.
Awesome. So Naomi Leal, who we had on the show at the very beginning, who has a track out called Broken Dreams, and then she also wrote another track, or published another track called Letter to the Game.
Yes.
And that's on SoundCloud. She is thinking about coming and doing the open mic, so you don't want to miss that. I wish we could have you out again, Danielle, for that. That would be awesome. Okay, so also we're really excited about Freedom Expo, which is happening on May.
Freedom Summit.
Freedom Summit.
Get it right.
Thank you.
Get it right. Freedom
Sorry,
Summit.
I'm mixing us up. So May 9th.
Yes.
And you can pick up your tickets on
BAATC.org's website.
Okay.
And our very own Vanessa Scott will be one of the presenters.
Okay, great. Yeah.
At Levi Stadium.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that. And Regina will be there.
That's right. Regina will be there as well.
Several other speakers. So please do participate in that. And then May 16th, we have a Love Don't Hurt training.
Yes.
Where's that going to be?
Another academy training, probably in Hayward, on industrial. And you can email me at education. No. Email me at Benita at loveneverfailsus.com.
Awesome.
And to get that information. But that will be on our website as well.
Okay. So we just invite you to like a couple of our pages. So we have Love Never Fails us.com. That's our website, so you don't want to like that, but you can if you'd like. But no, Love Never Fails page on Facebook. Also, Abolition Radio page on Facebook. We try to keep the announcements kind of separate on both of those pages, but they're oftentimes very similar.
Yeah.
But definitely track with us there on those pages. We also are at Love Never Fails 5 is our Twitter page. So we have a couple different ways that you can become aware of what we're up to. And Danielle, do you have anything coming up at the moment? Nothing coming up.
I'm going to go home, and I've been away from my family for 5 weeks, so I'm going to go home and enjoy them.
Okay, good. Get back to your babies. Yes. All right. Okay, so, we just want to encourage you out there. There's definitely a lot that will allow you to kind of get involved in this fight against human trafficking. And as we always say, we're really focused on helping you operate in your gifts. We're not asking you to, you can't be Vanessa, you can't be Benita, Misty, Liz, Danielle. We're all unique in our design and our abilities. And yet we all have these gifts that we can offer to this fight against human trafficking. So don't let your gift sit on the shelf. Bring it out and share it with others. And if you feel called to be a mentor, I know Liz and Misty and Danielle and many others like them would very much appreciate your support and your partnership as we go after and work with young people that need a friend, need an extended, family, if you will, need someone that they can call on, a sponsor, an accountability partner, whatever you want to call it. There's a need for somebody who is safe and someone who is just willing to take the time to listen, to be available. And of course, we always want to end, if you have never heard this from anybody or you haven't listened to any of our shows, we want to make sure that you know that you are loved.
Thanks for joining us this week on Abolition Radio. We trust that you've been inspired by these stories of hope and survival, and that you'll accept our challenge to get involved by contacting us at abolitionradio.org, by liking and sharing our page on Facebook, Facebook/Abolition Radio, or by making a contribution directly to Love Never Fails. Abolition Radio is the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails, which is a donor-supported, nonprofit ministry that Vanessa founded as a way of directly impacting the lives of young people who are trapped in or at risk of becoming involved in sex trafficking. This broadcast needs your involvement and support. To find out more, simply go to abolitionradio.org and click on Love Never Fails. Today's program was brought to you in part by Case Industries and with major support from the staff and membership and donors at Faith Fellowship Church. Our theme song, Courage to Believe, is by Justin McRoberts. Hear more about his passion for justice and art at justinmcroberts.com. Our audio engineer is Jarrell Martin, and this is Dave Naderhood. On behalf of Vanessa, Benita, and the whole team at Love Never Fails, thanks for listening, and thanks even more for taking action to help set captives free.
You're in the neighborhoods we live in. You're in the ones we're passing by. You're in the ones we call our neighbors, and the ones who still sleep our eyes.